I seem to have a special affinity with Russian musicians in general, but this is perhaps self-perceived. But you know, I grew up reading mostly Russian literature and working on Russian composers from the time I became a pianist already as a student. I had a very, very strong pull to that culture. So perhaps that's what it is. I find that there is a depth and yeah, a depth of approach of music making in, maybe it's a Russian tradition, maybe it's just the Russian soul and the way that the depth of the soul expresses itself in everything it does, artistic or not, actually. So I think that that's perhaps what brings me close to most as Russian conductors, but musicians also in general, also orchestras and sometimes chamber music partners. And of course, no two individuals are the same. So even if you have certain characteristics about the way of making music, of course, everyone with their own individuality in the end is totally different from one another. But if I would say one thing that characterizes, for me anyway, the collaboration with Russian musicians is the depth of the exchange. And with Valery Gergiev, you know, having done now a couple of different repertoires and pieces, you know, what I always think about him and his music making, you know, the word passion. It's a word which unfortunately everybody uses all the time for everything, and at the end it doesn't mean anything anymore. But if you get rid of all of that and you go back to what passion means at the core of the word, then that's what he represents for me, this intensity and this burning element, something which is alive from the inside and which is constantly moving and evolving and expressing and always going sort of deeper to the, you know, to the core of the fiber. And that's really unique and very fantastic to be close to. So the world certainly changed, but I think that even before that, before this time of globalization, I think that you couldn't really speak of a school. There are certain ideas about the tradition of a school, but look, I mean, even going back years and years, Horowitz, Richter, I mean, you have, this is the perfect example. You have two Russian pianists, completely different. I mean, you can't say that, oh, you recognize that this is now the Russian touch or the Russian technique or the Russian conception. Absolutely not. I mean, you couldn't find two more different, sometimes at opposite ends of the spectrum in the approach to a piece. So there, I think it shows that even at the time where Russian school was probably more defined than it is now, because now in this time of globalization you have all these outside influences and all these cross-referencing of everything. So, but even before that, what makes the difference at the end is the individuality. And in a way, what Berezovsky says is very true. It's very beautiful. It's very humble because he's a great artist already. But it's true that as an artist, you're just a student. You're always learning from every concert, from every rehearsal, and you know, you always leave the stage knowing what you could do differently, what you could do better, and you always learn from the music itself. The music is always stronger than the interpreter. And so that's the best school in the end. That's the strongest and most valuable school to keep you growing as a musician and as a person.